Okay, let's dive right into this explainer and explore how psychologists have tried to map out the staggeringly complex architecture of human intelligence. I mean, for over a century, scientists have been obsessed with figuring out exactly what makes us smart. Is it just a single, all-encompassing brainpower? Or is it a sprawling web of highly specific skills? Today, we're going to unpack the fascinating history of how we structurally measure the mind.
So, here's our roadmap for the explainer. We'll start with defining human intelligence, then look at the two main approaches to intelligence, followed by Binet's one-factor theory, general and specific factors, expanding the mind's architecture, and finally, the modern intelligence debate.
Section 1. Defining human intelligence. We use the word smart all the time, right? But how do the experts actually define it? Well, the Oxford Dictionary focuses on what we typically think of as, book smarts, perceiving, learning, knowing. But then you have David Wexler, whose intelligence tests are literally among the most widely used in the world. He expands that basic definition into something much more functional. He highlights that true intelligence isn't just about collecting facts, it's about your capacity to act purposefully. It's about how effectively you deal with your environment when life actually throws challenges your way.
Section 2. Two approaches to intelligence.
To truly grasp how psychologists measure these traits, we first need to look at a major fork in the road of modern psychology. The field is broadly split into two camps. On one side, we have the information processing approach. This camp is all about studying the cognitive functions underlying intelligent behavior. Basically, the actual reasoning and problem-solving processes people use. It focuses on how an intelligent person acts. But on the other side, we have the psychometric approach. This group considers intelligence as an aggregate of abilities, trying to express cognitive performance as a mathematical structural index. For today's explainer, we're going to follow the psychometric approach down the rabbit hole.
And as we track this chronologically, you're going to see how psychologists took a surprisingly simple initial concept back in 1905, and over decades of crunching data, completely fractured it into a remarkably dense architectural model of the mind.
Section 3. Binet's one-factor theory.
So, our journey starts in the early 1900s with Alfred Binet. Binet's initial theory arose from a very practical interest. He just wanted to differentiate more intelligent individuals from less intelligent ones. Because of this, he kept things rather simple. He conceptualized intelligence as consisting of just one similar set of mental operations. In his view, if you were highly intelligent, you possessed this one overarching set of abilities that you could universally apply to absolutely any problem in your environment. Think of it like having one giant universal smartness battery that powers everything you do.
Section 4. General and specific factors.
But is human intelligence really just one big general ability? Well, as more psychologists started analyzing Binet's test data, that one-factor theory came under serious dispute. In 1927, Charles Spearman used a statistical method called factor analysis to propose a two-factor theory. He argued that yes, there is a general factor, the G factor, which covers primary mental operations common to all performances. But in addition to that, there are specific factors, or S factors. To put that into perspective, an excellent architect, a brilliant scientist, or an elite athlete might all be high on the general G factor. However, what allows them to truly excel in their highly specialized domains are distinct specific abilities, their unique S factors.
Section 5. Expanding the mind's architecture.
As researchers gathered even more testing data, they realized the brain's structural capabilities were even more fractured than Spearman originally thought. Louis Thurstone stepped away from the general factor entirely, arguing that our intellect actually consists of 7 relatively independent primary abilities. You've got verbal comprehension for grasping the meaning of words, numerical abilities for computational speed, spatial relations for visualizing patterns, perceptual speed, word fluency, memory for accurate recall, and inductive reasoning, which is deriving rules from facts. So theoretically, you could be a total genius at spatial visualization, but completely struggle with word fluency.
Building on this idea of deep structural division, Arthur Jensen later came along and proposed a hierarchical model. He split intelligence into 2 operating levels. Down at the foundation, we have level I, associative learning. This is where the output is basically the same as the input. Think of rote memorization or basic memory recall. But sitting above that is level 2, cognitive competence. This involves much higher-order skills where the brain actually transforms the input to produce an entirely new, effective output. It perfectly illustrates how intelligence isn't just about possessing data, it's about what your brain actively does with that data.
Section 6. The modern intelligence debate.
This continuous fracturing brings us to the ultimate climax of complexity in the psychometric approach. J.P. Guilford revolutionized and, let's be honest, heavily complicated the field by suggesting every single intellectual trait must be classified across three intersecting dimensions. First, operations. What is the brain actively doing? Are you evaluating something? Retaining memory? Second, contents. What's the nature of the information? Is it visual, symbolic, semantic, or even behavioral? And third, products. What form is the information finally processed into? Is it a system, a transformation, or an implication?
Now, when you take Guilford's dimensions and actually do the math, the results are staggering because he identified 6 operations, 5 contents, and 6 products. Multiplying them together, 6 times 5 times 6, means his model dictates the human intellect is actually made up of 180 remarkably distinct cells or abilities. Each of these 180 cells is expected to have at least one specific ability factor. We literally went from Binet's single universal factor to a sprawling 180-cell matrix of the human mind.
As we step back and look at how much the scientific definition of intelligence has evolved and fractured over a century of psychometric research, it leaves us with a truly fascinating landscape. Seeing how experts like Guilford mapped out 180 different facets of our cognition leaves us with a provocative final question. Can a single number on a standardized test ever neatly summarize the incredible, multidimensional architecture of who you are? Thank you so much for exploring this with me today, and keep questioning the structures of the world around you.